I don't know if anyone's watching. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another live video with Michael from Michael's Movie Corner.
Hello.
Yeah, it was. Matt's busy. If anyone's interested, Matt's up to stuff. It's hard to like get us together at the moment for lives because yesterday Matt was free, but I wasn't. Today I'm free. Matt isn't. So it's getting that to work is a bit difficult at the moment because life sort of finds a way to spoil it. There we go. Little film quote there for you from a film you haven't seen, Michael. Life finds a way.
Rings a bell. Is that Jurassic Park?
It is. You haven't seen it, have you?
No, I haven't. No.
Well, there you go. One for you to watch.
It's on my ever-growing backlog that I'm slowly chipping away at.
And then, there's other times when, when you talk about life, life does, it moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Mm-hmm.
What's that from?
It rings a bell. And I want to say Forrest Gump, but I don't think it's Forrest Gump.
No, it begins with an F. It's Ferris Bueller.
Yeah. I've only ever seen that the once. I haven't seen it since.
Well, at least you've seen that one. That's good.
Yeah.
So
because I remember it being on one of the TV channels. And I was just watched it because I was like, oh, this. I've heard of this film. Let me give it a shot.
I watched it the other night, actually. I did watch it the other day. It's a very good film. I love it. And my children, I grew up on it, and I grew my children up with it as well. So each of them came. Well, it's a kid that skips school, isn't it, and goes and has fun. Who can, as a child who doesn't like that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like living the dream for them. So, and interestingly, Mia Sara, who's in it, the actress. She was the first ever live-action Harley Quinn. Oh,
I didn't know that.
Yes, not Margot Robbie. Well, in a sense, she played Harleen Quinzel. She played Harley Quinn before the Harley Quinn look in the Birds of Prey TV series from early 2000s, 2002 maybe. Yes, there was a DC Birds of Prey with Batgirl in it and everything.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Birds of Prey. Only lasted one season, but she played, Harley Quinn in that. Little interesting fact. Yeah. So anyway, like I said, Michael's here. So how are you, Michael? How's things going?
Things are going grand. As you can see, recently, as in a few days ago, I was gifted this lovely lightsaber from a friend of mine. That's one of those flick and up, which I am going to need because, tomorrow is when I start my Star Wars Trilogy reviews. So including doing a re-review of Empire. So I'm going to need to have this and go hide in a corner when those come out.
So you're reviewing Star Wars Empire Return.
I'm doing A New Hope first, which is my personal favorite of the trilogy.
Well, don't give it away. Then won't watch the reviews.
Then Wednesday will be Empire, and then Friday will be Return.
Oh, cool! So you got that on the cards, and then you've got I believe you've got Lord of the Rings as well coming. Have you not?
Yep, I do. That's the following week. I'll be doing all three movies because I watched all three in the span of 24 hours, give or take. I watched Fellowship on a Monday, and then I watched Two Towers and Return of the King on a Tuesday.
Oh, cool. Good.
Yeah. The non-extended edition version for those who are going to be asking, because anytime I brought it up since, it's like, oh, did you watch the extended edition? No. You should watch the extended edition. I don't plan to. No, but you really should watch the extended edition.
They do add to the films.
I'm not going to deny that, but adding on what, an extra hour each
Yeah. An extra hour of walking.
of it to an already 3 hour movie. No, thank you. I barely got through the 9.5 hours, give or take, of the theatrical version. And you want me to add on more time to that? No, thank you. I have a life.
I mean, in this film, it's all about walking, isn't it? Even
Yeah.
the trees walk.
Yes.
There's a great scene in Clerks 2 where they done that, where they had an argument.
I still need to watch Clerks. I think the only Jay and Silent Bob film I've ever seen is Dogma.
Okay, all right. It's a hard one to get hold of on Blu-ray.
Yes, really, really hard to get a hold of on Blu-ray. I think I've seen a few TikToks of people finding it in half-price books over in America for like $60.
Yeah, because the rights are held up with the Weinsteins.
Yeah, the Weinstein brothers, and I think they wanted something like 5 million for the rights, and Kevin Smith was like, "No, fuck this. If you guys want to pirate our movie, you have my blessing."
Yeah, it's yeah. Some of their film, I don't mind the I really like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I think that's very good. Which is the first Jay and Silent Bob solo film where they weren't like just cameos in the films. Then they did do a couple of years ago Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, which is a sequel. But I didn't reckon that one as much. A lot of the jokes went over my head in the sense that there was a lot of cameos that I didn't know. Kind of where I'm at touch with what's popular, I suppose. For you youngsters. But yeah, so a lot of it didn't land for me in that respect. I thought it was a far weaker film. But there we go. So what's the weather been like over there in Ireland? Because obviously it's been dreadful down here in London for the past week.
It's been a mix. It's supposed to be summer, and we've had nothing but rain the entire time. But right now it seems to be sunny. Touch wood that it stays that way. And because I think it was raining at some point last night, but as it stands right now, it's sunny with kind of gray clouds at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So let's talk a little bit about Star Trek. Obviously,
sure.
This week just passed, we had a musical Star Trek Strange New Worlds episode drop.
Yes.
Which, we had quite a light-hearted one when you had the crossover with Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Which I really did enjoy. I like the amalgamation, how it went from animated into live action. I enjoyed how
I loved that as well.
Yeah, they mixed up the intro was done as as animated. With a few little in jokes to Lower Decks there as well. I thought it was a very strong episode. A lot of fun with Jack Quaid playing Boimler, the character he voices in Lower Decks. Jack Quaid is popping up in a lot at the moment. He's quite a busy actor.
Yeah, I think as well he was rumored to have been offered the role, a role in the Marvel's Fantastic Four. But I think he either turned it down or he's contracted elsewhere.
Yeah, because obviously he's in The Boys.
And
I watched something with him I'm going to have to IMDb him now because I watched something the other day and I sat there and I said to my missus, that's Jack Quaid. I can't remember what it was. So I'm going to have a look. I know he's getting, as the son of... obviously, voices at the moment, he's doing Lower Decks. He's in The Boys.
Yeah.
He was in Oppenheimer. That's where I saw him.
He was in Oppenheimer?
Yeah. As Richard Feynman. I don't think he had a massive big part, but he was there in Oppenheimer. Yeah.
I must have missed that.
And also, he's voiced Peter Parker in Across the Spider-Verse, one of the Peter Parkers. and he's currently voicing Superman in My Adventures with Superman, the Superman animated series.
Oh, how is that? I'm sure you're already watching that at the moment.
It's good. It's decent. Yeah, I've got no problem with it at all. Yeah, they've changed some of the races of characters and things like that, but I'm not gonna, start kicking off about that. It is what it is, and but as a show, it's pretty good. So he's quite busy, quite a busy chap, considering obviously he's the son of Dennis
Quaid.
Yeah, you can see it. He does look like a bit like Dennis Quaid.
Yeah.
Another good actor who went very underrated, I think. But yeah, so what were your thoughts? So like I said, sorry, I got sidetracked there by
it's grand.
Jack Quaid. So we had this cartoon mix episode. Well, it was live action, but the cartoon characters came over. Then we had a very, very, very darkly themed
Under the Cloak of War.
Yep, given to us, and I think the Doctor. You'll know what's his name, the actor. I don't know.
Mbenga. I don't know his name, but I'm loving the fact that we're getting more backstory for Mbenga, because he's only really in the original series. He was only in 2 episodes.
Yeah, I think I think this is my take on it. Right, it's because obviously in season 1 of Strange New Worlds, Mbenga, he had the storyline with his daughter.
Yeah.
Where she was ill, but she was kept in the transporter
buffers.
Yeah, and I was very critical of the episode where she was saved and where she chose to go on with this alien. I was very critical of it in the sense that I felt like this is a storyline that they've decided they don't want to continue with. That they want to reject this, because sometimes with shows you do find that they'll start up a show, they'll start up a series, and things aren't working for certain characters in this, and they kind of eject storylines to bring in new storylines. So I was quite critical of how fast they wrapped that one up, because I felt that the writers or the creators of the show didn't actually really want it in the end. That was my take on it, because I felt that it was too soon to do what they'd done. And his emotion to it was, it was like, now, watching it now, you wouldn't even know that he's had a daughter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He hasn't shown any real emotion about it or spoke about her much or anything like that. It's like, let's draw a line in the sand for that storyline. So it was nice to get this storyline for him. A powerful storyline with a powerful ending, shades of grey kind of thing. And I think he's a damn fine actor as well.
Yeah, I've really been enjoying him throughout Strange New Worlds, both season 1 and season 2, especially now with season 2, that we are getting more fleshed out backstory for, as I said, a character that's only really had 2 episodes in the original series. And I love the fact that they took this person who was just a normal doctor on board the Enterprise as Kirk's time, and made him the chief MO to flesh him out even more. And I already know what's coming for the season finale. It's the Gorn, which I think they only really mentioned in the first episode this season. And so that's going to be interesting. But as well, it'll be interesting to see where they bring his character moving forward into season 3, whenever they get around to both writing and filming at the moment.
Yes, it'll be cool. So obviously then we were given this week we were given the musical episode. Did you buy the soundtrack on iTunes?
No, I'm streaming it on YouTube Music, because that's where I get my music from. Because I pay for, I'm going to have to put this in air quotes, pay for premium. I just used a VPN to say I was in a cheaper part of the world to get it for cheaper. So yeah, that's where I get my music fix. I've been mainly listening to the opening song, Status Report, on repeat. over and over again. And I do have Spock's ballad about I'm the X in my breakup playlist for, whenever I might need that in the future. But yeah, there were some songs that I did not like from it. I didn't like La'an's solo piece.
Yeah.
She's a great singer, don't get me wrong. She's a really good singer, I knew of that book going into this episode because in around the time of episode 3 launch, the actress Christina Chong put out a new song of hers, and that showed up on my TikTok For You page a few times. So I knew that she could sing. So I was really looking forward to that, but I just didn't really gel well with it. The same with the duet with Una when they were in Pike's ready room.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
That
like
wasn't really
that.
a duet, though. That was just Una singing.
That was just Una, yeah.
Yeah, listen.
I found that very stupid that she just went, oh, whilst we're singing, let me turn off the gravity here so we can spin around and make it look artistic and stuff. I did not gel well with that. But the ending song when the Klingon showed up and doing K-pop, that I died laughing, and it was the type of dying laughing that ends in a coughing fit when you're done. I laughed that much, and every time I see it show up on my For You page on TikTok, a lot of people are commenting saying, oh, you've never experienced true K-pop until you've heard it in original Klingon.
Which... See, I don't even know what K-pop is.
Korean pop.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, like BTS and all of that crap.
BTS?
A Korean band, boy band.
I don't know. I don't know that. Yeah.
You're lucky then to avoid all of that.
Yeah, it was good. So I've got a question for you because there's a very ominous line at the end of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Which does easy to very pass by. You probably know what line I'm going to talk about. You probably or not. I don't know. And it is what Pike's girlfriend says. That she can't go. She's been recalled away onto a
priority 1 mission.
Yes. Now, for me, that was alarm bell time.
And you are right to have those alarm bells because
you're
if
dead in the episode, you're likely going to die.
Yeah, because they obviously, when every new episode comes out, they have the ready room and they show a scene from the up and coming episode.
Okay.
And they showed a scene from the next episode.
Yeah.
And spoiler warning for those who don't want to know what I'm about to say, this is your chance to mute stream now. Yeah, her ship is essentially destroyed.
Okay, all right.
By the Gorn.
Yeah.
But there is a chance that she has survived and beamed down to a planet. But yeah, as you're saying, alarm bells. You're not the only one. Everyone that's watched this episode, especially the fact that she got her first name drop. Like, oh, they're going to kill her off in the next episode, aren't they? And after watching that preview, yeah, I kind of think they might just do that.
It was also nice to get the comments about from Kirk about him having a love interest.
Yes. Carol Marcus.
Yes, and that she's pregnant.
Yeah. I was very happy with that. I was very happy that we actually got mention not only of Carol, but the fact that she's pregnant with David Marcus as we speak. So that would be, I would love to see her on screen, but I don't know if we would. Even if I don't care if it's just, like a view screen type of thing. I'll be happy with that. But I think James Kirk is going to be in this next episode as well. I think I've seen him for a frame or two in for next week's episode.
Yeah, well, if he's shadowing,
Yeah.
what's the face?
Una.
Yeah, then makes sense, doesn't it? Because he's meant to be shadowing her for several weeks, and with what's the face being called away on priority one, you can assume that there's not much time frame between this episode and the next episode, so it would make sense. Although they are enjoying trying to make it like the Kirk show.
Yeah.
Let me jump into some comments before we carry on.
Sure.
Here we go. Stephen from Sacramento. How you keeping? Scottish Geek guy. How you keeping? I hope you're well.
Hello.
David from the Arcade and Toy Channel. Hello, AJ's Movie Place. Hi, David. How you keeping, mate? That makes sense. It's not for everyone, I guess. It's all about walking. True. I do walk a lot. I find. I mean, I'll be honest now. I struggle with when I watch the Lord of the Rings films, which I love. Don't get me wrong, I do love them. I do find the middle chapter quite a slog to get through. The middle film.
I agree. I did as well when getting to the Two Towers. It's a lot of people's favorite. The same with Return of the King. I honestly love Fellowship more because it does what it needed to do of establishing the world and introducing us to everyone who's going to have a part to play.
Yeah, Fellowship is my favorite, and Samwise ends up being the hero of this film, of the series.
Yeah,
not Frodo. Samwise Gamgee.
Get you a best friend like get Samwise Gamgee.
Yeah. Stephen says Mallrats is a good one. That's a Kevin Smith film.
Yeah, I've heard of Mallrats.
That's his first film, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think that is his first one.
Yeah. Kevin Smith's he's on face value. He's very crude with what he does in his films back then. A lot of his films, but there's a lot of heart and soul in that story as well. You know, there's a lot of emotion, heart and soul in a lot of his films. I will say that. Wilson. Hey, AJ. Hey, Wilson. Oh, yeah, of course. His mum being Meg Ryan is pretty impressive too. Talent on both sides. Jack Quaid. Yeah.
Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah. He's I like Jack Quaid in you know, it's nice to see him pop up. But yeah, if you watch Oppenheimer again, just keep an eye out. I did spot him. That's what I was saying. I said to my missus, it's Jack Quaid popping up in everything.
Yeah, because obviously I recognized Robbie Malek straight away, and every time I see Robbie Malek, I'm like, oh, it's Freddie Mercury. I wonder what he's going to do this time.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was in it. I forgot about that. Actually, now you said that.
Yeah, that's why when I watched No Time to Die, I was like, oh, it's Freddie Mercury being a villain. Let's see how this one plays out.
Yes. So Wilson says that went on forever. Well, I don't know. Are we referring to the walk-in in Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings, maybe.
Really good episode. Brad says I really liked Keep Us Connected.
Yeah, that was a good one.
What one was Keep Us Connected? Remind me. I have watched the episode, but I'm not listening to the songs on the playlist.
Yeah. I think what I'm going to do is I'll just go to the album and see where that... see, Keep Us Connected was the second last song. It was Uhura's solo.
Yeah, that's what he's... yeah, Wilson said he meant the song. It went on forever. A lot of singing a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is he? Yeah, so who are the... So obviously, What's Her Face is a proper singer. Who else is the other proper singer in it? Is it
The actress who plays Uhura.
Okay, yeah, I thought so. All right. I think
Yeah.
Thingy done
I
quite a
mean,
good job as well. Nurse Chapel.
yeah. Her voice and the way her song sounded eerily similar to another song that I still can't put my finger on, and it's bugging me that I can't put my finger on.
Okay, I need
It's
to
like
say this. No, go on.
it was like a really popular pop song for a while, and it's slowly driving me insane every time I hear it.
Okay, I wouldn't know where it is because if it weren't in the 80s, I wouldn't know where it is.
Yeah.
Musical tastes like kind of died after the 80s and into the 90s sometime.
Yeah.
I will say, what bloody annoyed me, right, is as you know, I done my review. I sung the opening of my review.
Yeah.
Right. I that just came to my. I made that up while I was sat there watching the episode, and I thought to myself, I've got to go upstairs and sing this now, before otherwise I'm going to forget. I'm going to forget the melody that goes with the words and all this sort of a thing. So I went and done it. Right. I then got copyrighted on my video. Right. Seriously, I don't know why. Now, I know that I use some clips from Star Trek in the videos, as I always do, but that is me recording from the TV. I like hold the camera and I record as I'm watching it, right? Just to add in the top corner.
Yeah.
But what I then, and you could argue, well, that's what's got you the copyright thing, right? But I then uploaded the video again and I removed I didn't make it public, this one. I then removed my singing at the beginning of the video and it didn't get a copyright strike.
And you want to know what's even funnier? I uploaded the Klingon K-pop scene as a YouTube short and I got no claim whatsoever.
Wow. But yeah, so I do take that as a compliment to my vocal prowess.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad, but I couldn't not open that review with a little sort of tune and melody.
Yeah, you see, I would have, but I can't sing for shit and I can't keep in a melody, so I wasn't going to even attempt to do it. So props to you for having the balls to where I couldn't do it.
Well, I can't really sing for that well, but I like to think I can. Yeah. And I've got no problem doing it. So I thought I'd give it a go. Why not? It's a laugh. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, but I didn't expect to get a copyright strike for my own singing on lyrics that I made up to as well. I don't know the tune. I just sort of sung them to. I didn't purposely think I'm going to sing them to another song's tune or anything like that. I just done this thing. So I take it as a compliment that I got copyright. Not strike. It's not strike. Not copyright strike, but copyright.
It's copyright claim.
Yeah, you can't monetize the video.
Yeah. That means they get the money that you would have made.
Which is the copyright owner gets the money, which should be me.
Yeah.
If I cared,
you're gonna dispute that.
Oh, if I cared, I would, but I don't really care. So. All I say is, Gareth over at Video Tasties, beware when I do my spirited sing along at Christmas. Because he won't have that video monetized. That's all.
Yep.
There we go. Anyway, let's just carry on. So Wilson says, did every actor actress sing in their original voice?
I believe so. A little bit of autotune thrown in, I noticed. But as I said in my review, I was really blown away by three main people's singing voices, being obviously Rebecca Romaine singing. Was not aware she could sing. She'd done fantastic, even though her one solo song I didn't like. I didn't mind her song with Kirk, but yeah, I much preferred her being like in the background of other songs. Anson Mount, I was pleasantly surprised at that one. but the one that really stole it for me was Ethan Peck as Spock. That I really, really loved his singing. That's something that if he ever pursued a career, I would gladly listen to his songs because
Sure.
he's actually really, really good. And I find that funny in a way because Leonard Nimoy had some not a full singing career, but he's also known for the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins song from the 70s.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just I had a message come through. Okay, let's change that up. Okay, so yes, I mean, I knew that the episode would be a Marmite episode. Either love it or hate
Yeah.
it. That was inevitable. It was going to split opinion, divided down the middle. I was quite pleased because I actually got over 1,000 views on my review, about 1,200.
I think
between 12 and
I
1,300,
got,
which is rare, which used to be good. I used to get that for Star Trek reviews, but people don't watch anymore. And it ain't just mine, like I've said, it's a lot of Star Trek reviews.
Oh, I've even noticed with
people
mine.
don't
I got 183 views on my review, which is about normal, somewhat normal for me. For me, it definitely fluctuates with when I've done it. Like this is the first time I've actually reviewed Star Trek on a weekly basis, thanks to AJ's recommendation, and it's been a big boost. Not only view wise, but subscriber wise as well. But yeah, it averages. See, some have gotten like under 100 views, but most get 100 plus views.
Yeah.
The most viewed was episode 3, which got 227 views for me.
I think I got less than that on that video. I think you got more than me on that one. I mean, next week's I anticipate having good views because it's a finale. People always like to see what happens, and I take it you're going to continue reviewing with. Well, I don't review Lower Decks.
I'll be reviewing Lower Decks definitely, because when I watch Lower Decks, I don't go in expecting to laugh. I just go into expecting to have a good time because for me, it took me until the end of season 1, beginning of season 2, to fully get into Lower Decks. I haven't rewatched season 1 since it aired, but it definitely took a while for me to enjoy Lower Decks as I do now. But I will definitely be reviewing Lower Decks weekly.
Yeah, so I struggle with reviewing comedy because comedy's lost in translation, and I find it very difficult to put into words the episodes. It's like it'd be akin to me trying to review an episode of Family Guy or something. It'd just be impossible to do. So I find it very difficult. So I'll leave you with that one. But I expect Discovery to do quite well. That's always done quite well for reviews.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reviewing Discovery, either through me doing the season-long reviews that I have been doing with Doctor Who and Star Trek, and soon Torchwood, or just reviewing season 5 weekly when it comes out early next year.
Yes. Yeah. I've got a question for you. Brad has asked, where can he watch The Ready Room with Will Wheaton? Do you know?
Facebook, I believe. It's either it's usually posted on the Star Trek Facebook page, but afterwards you can find it on their the Star Trek website, I believe, because that's where after every episode, Will Wheaton will interview 1 or 2 cast members about the current episode that's just aired, either in person or over Zoom or something like that.
Well, there you go, Brad. You got your answer from Michael. I don't watch it, so Any comments?
I don't
Welcome.
either. I just wait until it's out, and then I'll look up whatever's the next episode and just watch the preview, because someone will always have it uploaded afterwards.
Cool. So anyway, let's move on. Let's get away from Trek. So recently you've watched Predator 2, which
Yes.
you've done a review for, and Terminator 2.
Yes, I watched Terminator 2 last night.
So which one are you happy to talk about?
Either or.
Choose one. We'll start with whatever you pick.
Right. We'll start with Predator 2.
Cool.
Because I did not like that movie at all.
Okay, so let's find out why you're. Okay, first of all, for me, okay, in 1987, because sorry, Michael, you were born when?
88, 98.
98. Okay, so yeah, it's you weren't there.
Yeah.
Okay, in 87, I remember when Predator came out, and today Predator ranks as it would rank in my top 10 favorite films of all time, easy. It's I don't know. It's just one of those wow films. I love it. Can't knock it.
Yeah, I agree. Predator. I love the first Predator. Before my full watch through of the first movie, I'd only seen the ending, which I loved, and after watching it in full, I loved it. I loved every moment of it. I loved that it's a slow build up until we see the actual Predator, even if it's just him with his cloak on. I really, really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that more than Alien, the way Alien was set up.
So while we're watching this, everyone, let us know your thoughts on Predator, Predator 2, that sort of a thing, so we can discuss. But let me start with me, right? So Predator for me, I was there in 1987. I didn't see it in the cinema. I'd have been too young. I'd have been maybe 11 when it came out. But I also remember before Predator 2 came out, I remember visiting the Forbidden Planet up in London, West End, at a location on New Oxford Street, which isn't where it is now. It's in its third location up there to where since I've been going. First of all, it was on a road called Denmark Street, which is synonymous with music shops. So it's tiny there. Then it moved on to New Oxford Street, and then subsequently moved to Shaftesbury Avenue, where it currently resides. So when it was on, it had moved from Denmark Street to New Oxford Street. And I remember being in there and picking up the very first issue, Predator comic book, published by Dark Horse Comics, which is an independent comic company that's still going today.
Yeah. I'm aware of them. I remember buying when I was big into Star Wars and around when the Clone Wars movie came out.
Yeah.
They also came out with some Dark Horse comics that came with some action figure based off of what was in that comic. I remember getting some of them for Christmas.
Yes, that's right. Dark Horse basically got the rights to lots of different film properties. So they did get Star Wars. They had, for a time, they had Terminator. They've done RoboCop. They had Aliens and Predator were a main. Aliens, Predator, and Star Wars were a mainstay for them for a long time. Obviously, they lost the rights to all of them when 20th Century Fox went over to Disney. When Marvel, when Disney bought out Marvel as well, because now the Aliens and Predator comics are published by Marvel. But I remember picking up my first issue of the Predator comic, which was a Predator, red background, stood atop of a building, holding a skull in one hand, this sort of a thing. I've still got them. And it followed Dutch's brother. Dutch's brother was a police officer in, I think it was Los Angeles, in the comic. I may be wrong with the city, but it was city-based. And then Predator 2 came out, and it kind of went with what the comic's done almost to a degree, without being Dutch's brother, which I didn't mind. I had no issue with the non-inclusion of Arnie or an Arnie family member, because these creatures have been coming down to Earth for centuries. Why is it that it's connected to one individual? For me, that doesn't make very much sense. So for Predator 2, I remember first seeing it. Again, I was too young to see it in the cinema. It was an 18. And I remember as soon as it came in on Pirate at my video store, one of the behind-the-counter jobbies, I rushed to watch it. And I'm a big fan of Predator 2. I love the film. Not as good as Predator 1. Nowhere near as good as Predator 1. But I thought that it was very fast-paced. I had no issue with Danny Glover. I enjoyed a lot of the cast in it. Bill Paxton, Gary Busey being there, all these sort of people. Over time, the film, I do look at the film as being very dated. It is very dated, and it takes some beats from Aliens, and it takes beats from RoboCop, things like this in there. You can see that's influenced the movie, but I have a lot of fun with it, and especially when you get to that point where you're in the slaughterhouse district, in the meatpacking plant. It's just constant action to the end of the film. It doesn't stop. Actually, I think it's on from the train, if I'm not mistaken. It's on the subway train. Yeah, because it's subway train
from the train.
Factory, and then the battle with the Predator thereon. So for me, it's a film that I really enjoy, and world building for the Predator was fantastic. You got to find out more about them as a species, how they integrated with other members of their clans and this sort of a thing, that they've been hunting here on Earth since, because of the gun at the end. All the different skulls in the trophy cabinet, including the alien skull, which was just...
I didn't notice that.
No, yeah, there's an alien skull there. And as soon as fans saw that, they went wild with it. These creatures have hunted the alien, and it was just an in-joke. It was just an in-joke because they're both 20th Century Fox. At the time, Dark Horse Comics had started an Alien versus Predator comic as well, because they had the rights, so they could combine, do what they wanted with it. So for me, it's high up there as a Predator film. I really enjoy it. Dated now, but I really enjoy it. So share with me your issues with the film.
Well, you see, as I said, I am still new to the Predator series. So watching Predator 2, I went in only knowing that it was set in a city this time. That none of the original cast was coming back from the first one, which I think it was you who pointed that out to me. And as I was watching it, the way for me it was setting things up, it was that Gary Busey's character had contracted the Predator to essentially clean up all these crime syndicates, and that's the way I was. That's the direction it was going, and I was all for that until it turns out that no, that wasn't the case. But also a little bit boring, and until towards the end of the movie when all the action breaks loose. But yeah, I didn't necessarily gel well with it compared to the first one. But I have a feeling when I get to Predators, I probably will like that, because I remember either when I was watching Predator or Predator 2, it had a trailer for that movie on the Blu-ray, and I watched that trailer. I was like, oh, that definitely seems interesting. So whenever I get my hands on that, I will of course watch and review it.
Cool. So I mean, because the first Predator film is it's okay. I'll say it's timeless in the sense that it doesn't age.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that it doesn't age, and that is because of its setting, which is all jungle setting. The garb that they're wearing is just military garb. Okay, I know that military garb now is different to what it is back then. But for the normal layman on the street, you don't see that sort of a thing. and a lot of the weapons that they're using are probably become somewhat outdated now as well. But again, for the normal layman on the street, you're not seeing that. So the film remains, it doesn't age. It doesn't age for those reasons. It looks, because there's nothing in it that really tells a normal person this is the time period that this film is set in, or filmed in, I should say, not set in. This is the time period that it's filmed in. Beyond, like I said, maybe the helicopters, things like that. But Predator 2 suffers with that because it's city set. So we're meant to believe, and you know, that we're looking at a city in the future, and we know that it's a city in the past now. You know, looking at the vehicles, all this sort of thing, it's dated in that sense. TV monitors, all things like that, computer monitors. So you get that sense of age with it. Predators. I won't go into the story of Predators, but I enjoy it. I thought Adrian Brody was inspired casting, because the minute I heard they'd cast Adrian Brody fighting a Predator, I was like, well, probably like everyone else, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Adrian Brody? But, you know, yeah, he worked for me. He was really good in it. And although the film is very much a beat for beat remake of the first film, I have fun with it. I enjoy it. I don't like the designs of the new Predators. I think, you know, the Predator design in Predator 2 I liked because it wasn't far removed from the first Predator.
I agree. I did like the Predator look in 2. To me, it didn't look any different than the first one.
No, it had different colours and things on its sort of pattern and all things like that. And they upgraded, you know, his costume was different, this mask was different. So all that worked for it. But in Predators, they go to give you a different clan of Predators, and they redesign them, and it doesn't work, unfortunately, because you're taking a creature that is nigh on perfect. You know, the Predator is one of those. It's a perfect design. You're not going to improve upon it. So whenever you try, it's much like RoboCop. Try and improve upon the RoboCop costume, you just can't do it because it is spot on, you know. And they proved that in the RoboCop remake. But so the but it's a fun movie, and when you get to it, the Predator. It's ironic that you say, you know, your comment about you thought that you'd have sort of the Predator working for the humans, because that was the original ending for, and I'm not spoiling anything for you here, that was the original ending for Predators, essentially, that they had a couple of Predators in Area 51 that were working with humans, that they got to essentially fight this bad Predator. It was all reshot. They edited it all out. You can see photos of those scenes. There's scenes where Predators are in military garb with human machine guns. They're in, you know what I mean? I do actually have a figure upstairs as well of one. NECA released the figures of them, the two Predators from the film that weren't ever used in, you know, military garb with human weaponry. And I would love to have seen that as the end of the film. Alas, it didn't come to pass. And do you know the actor Edward James Olmos?
Rings a bell.
Battlestar Galactica, the remake Battlestar Galactica TV series he was in. He played a Dharma. And he's in Blade Runner, first Blade Runner. Anyway, he was. I
still have yet to see.
Yeah, he was in it. He was cast in it but even his scenes were chopped completely from the film. So for me, the Predator is. I can watch it and I'm not bored. But it's an awful film. It's a film. There's a lot of films that I say that I love to hate. And by which I mean, I can watch this film. It doesn't bore me, but when I watch it, I'm hating on it and I am criticizing and I am digging it. The Meg 2 that I watched recently is definitely going to be one of them. Judge Dredd from Stallone has fast become one of them. Highlander 2 is one. And Predator, The Predator is one. And that's because there's a far more fascinating story behind the scenes that I'm aware of than what we got. And there's this sort of part of me that wishes that I could get this other version of the film and see it. So it's a film that I sort of love to hate. But it's the weakest of the Predator franchise by far. Yeah. And then Prey, then you got Prey to look forward to.
Yeah.
And like I say, I wouldn't dismiss Alien versus Predator, the first one. It's
I'm actually I've ever since you left that comment, I was like, oh, I would give it a shot. I've been on the lookout for it, and I find it funny when I don't want to find it. It's everywhere. When I do want to find it, it's fucking nowhere.
It's again, it's a film that's fun. Just completely forget the Alien franchise and any potential continuity and things like that. Forget that. I always watch it as part of the Predator franchise. You know what I mean? I always sort of, it falls akin with them than with the Aliens. But it does contradict. There are now contradictions in that when you see Prey. There's, do you know what I mean? So you just got to watch it as a self-contained movie, really.
Like it's in its own separate universe,
and just have fun with it. And if you ever get to the second one, make sure it's the middle of the night, your curtains are drawn, you've got no ambient light whatsoever. Otherwise, you won't see a damn thing.
Like most Star Trek nowadays.
Wilson says, Ready Room can find on YouTube and Paramount Plus. Okay.
I knew it was on Facebook back when I used to have Facebook. So that's where I knew it from.
Okay, cool. So, hopefully you'll enjoy some of the other Predator films.
Yeah, I mean, I love the first one. As I said, I enjoyed the action towards the end of the movie. I love the ending where they're on the Predator ship, and it's just these big bunch of Predators come out, and Danny Glover's like, well, bring it on then.
Yeah, who's next?
Yeah, love that. It's actually, as I said, my first Danny Glover film until I get around to Lethal Weapon. Was also my first Gary Busey film, because the only thing I seen him before this was the cameo he had in 2.5 Men in Ashton Kutcher's first season.
Oh, right, yeah.
I didn't mind his first 2 seasons in 2.5 Men, but then I kind of gave up.
Yeah, no, that series ended for me when Charlie Sheen left.
Yeah,
I've got not the Ashton
Kutcher. I've got only 2 seasons of the Charlie Sheen's era of the show, because it's surprisingly where I live kind of hard to find usually.
Okay.
But except for I did find season 1 in a charity shop, and I find it funny because they wanted a $5 for that box set, but yet it came from the CEX €1 section that still had a bit of the sticker on it. So I'm like, I see what you're doing here. I will leave it and not buy it.
Yeah. It's I like Charlie Sheen's era on that. Yeah. I think I do have 2 seasons of the Ashton Kutcher one I picked up cheap on DVD, but no, for me it ended with Charlie Sheen, unfortunately.
For me, the last good part of the Kutcher season is before he wants to have a kid, and so they cheese the system by him marrying Alan in order to adopt a child, and then as soon as they have, they get divorced. This is all in the final season, and then on the last episode, the episode prior, they had just wrapped everything up with this kid. He's not seen in the entire season finale whatsoever.
Oh, I doubt I'll ever visit him. I'll be honest. It's
I did watch the last ever episode, and Arnie does show up. He makes a cameo in the season finale.
That's right. I have seen Arnie in it. Yes,
Yeah,
because I know you've got the joke at the end where it's Charlie Sheen, but it's not Charlie Sheen, and the
yeah.
piano's dropped on him.
Which, knowing what was going on in the behind the scenes, made me want to see him show up, because Charlie was in talks to come back, but it was the Laurie, or whatever his last name is, was being a bit of a dick about it.
Mm.
And that's why he went through with his ending of dropping a piano on him.
I know.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I know Charlie Sheen. The background. Charlie Sheen obviously
yeah,
hadn't come out yet with the fact that he. It's clear that he'd been diagnosed with HIV at that point,
yeah,
and whatever that done to him psychologically, it messed him up. Do you know what I mean? That
yeah,
I suppose the worry of that, the realization of that, although HIV isn't a killer now, it doesn't.
yeah,
HIV can be controlled with tablets. It doesn't lead to, essentially AIDS should all but be gotten rid of for the most
yeah,
part if people were careful and had tests and everything, because HIV can be controlled with a drug to the point that it becomes even non-detectable.
yeah,
So but Charlie Sheen back then, we're talking some time ago now. I can only imagine finding that out, the emotional, the psychological impact of finding out something like that, and especially as how sort of open Charlie Sheen was, potential of affecting a lot of other people as well. So, I sort of feel sorry for him in a sense that he had the breakdown that he did, and this caused the troubles that came with it, until he openly sat down and said, "I'm HIV positive." And then that sort of jigsaw piece fell into place, and it's like, there's the answer. There's why you went off as you did. So yeah, it's a shame. I like Charlie Sheen.
He's a really good actor. Like, I haven't seen his early works. I've only really seen him in Two and a Half Men, as well as that anger management show that he had, and that replaced for him. And then, of course, his one scene in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
And then when the Goldbergs made their version of events for that, they brought him back as a cameo for that.
In what Ferris Bueller?
And the Goldbergs.
Yeah, what, the Ferris Bueller scene?
Yeah, for the Ferris Bueller thing, they brought him back.
They
had him
with Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, they recreated that whole scene.
Oh, cool. After YouTube that one and see. He's made some decent movies. Hot Shots were very funny. He was in first Young Guns, The Rookie with Charlie Sheen with Clint Eastwood, Navy SEALs. And he's made some cheapy films like Men
Scary
at Work.
Movie.
Oh yeah, Scary Movies. He was good in those. Yes, I can't forget those.
Yeah. I just remembered. Yeah, that was actually my first introduction to him, was Scary Movie 3.
Yeah, he was. I liked him in Scary Movie 3. He was very good.
Yeah.
See, I don't like the first two Scary Movie films. I hate them. I don't think they're funny at all, and they rely on that sort of sexualized, sick humor that I don't particularly like. But then with Scary Movie 3, that's when the Zuckers came on board, I believe, who were the people who were behind the Naked Gun that came on.
Yeah. That's when the Harvey Weinstein screwed over the Wayans brothers and gave it that franchise to those guys. And the third one was good. But then after 3, that's when it kind of went downhill and they ran it into the dirt.
I although I didn't mind 4 either. It weren't as good as 3, but I didn't mind 4. 5, I didn't even get through. 5, I didn't even. I don't know if I'd grown beyond that sort of humor at that point, or it just weren't very funny. I'm guessing it weren't very funny at all. But he's done a lot of good stuff. Yeah, Men at Work is one, when he'd done it with Emilio Estevez, his brother. but they were garbage. Yeah. That was pretty good. And he done a film called Stockade as well, where he was in army prison. But I think it had a different title. Cadence. It was named in other territories. But yeah, I quite like Charlie Sheen. People acting responsible. What's that in? Sorry, I don't know the what's that in
context?
Yeah, too. I'm lost. Sorry. So anyway, so let's move on to Terminator.
Yes.
So okay, so give us a little background on your Terminator 1 experience.
Well, my background on Terminator 1 is pretty recent. I watched it 2 months ago, and I specifically put off watching it until for it to be the very last video that I worked on for last month's videos, and I thought it was okay. And the time travel aspect of it gave me a headache.
Okay.
Because he's saying that he's from a possible future, but it can't be a possible future because it needed to be the future for him to be protected by his son to be able to then send him back in time to impregnate his mother for that to then happen. And then every time I think about that, my head hurts.
Okay, yeah.
So I now see why Janeway hates temporal mechanics in Star Trek, because it always gives her a headache.
So it has to happen, yes. Yeah. I won't think about it too much. I don't, but so other than that,
it was just okay. A little overrated. Mm-hmm. But I did like the Terminator design, and I would have loved to see more of the not so distant future now, because we are 6 years out from that, from the 2029 that they made mention in the first two movies.
Yeah. Okay.
But overall, it was just okay.
So again, for me, 1984, a film that I was gifted at Christmas, I remember, on VHS when it came out, and I loved it. Film that I instantly fell in love with. Me and my friends would watch it because it was essentially a video nasty almost. It wasn't, but it was a film that we felt like we shouldn't really be watching, but we are. The scenes where the eyeball coming out. I know again a lot of that's dated now, but that stuff doesn't bother me.
I really enjoyed that. I really loved the whole practical side of Terminator. I thought it was really, really well done for a movie of its time, because if something like this came out today, it'd be all CG bull crap. And I think it's the fact that it was done in practical that made it look that bit more scarier.
Yeah, absolutely. So, do you want to talk Terminator 2?
Yeah, so I watched Terminator 2 for the very first time last night for a review I have due out in September. And I actually enjoyed it. I thought, I was very worried that I wasn't going to enjoy it when essentially the premise sounded like as a retelling of the first one, just a few years into the future. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to like this, because one of my favorite movies as a kid was Men in Black 2. And then when I rewatched it and realized it was just a carbon copy of the first movie, it kind of diminished my enjoyment of that. But the first act of the movie, for me, it's definitely a retelling of the first movie. But when it gets to hunting down the person responsible for Skynet and trying to put an end to Skynet, I thoroughly enjoyed that part. That's what made me really, really enjoy the movie and really get engrossed in the movie. And then, of course, at the end, the ending of the movie is essentially again, a slight retelling of the first one where they have to fight the T-1000. And in my review that's coming out next week, I make reference that the T-100 versus the T-1000 is like the Atari 2600 versus the PlayStation 3, with how far different advanced they are.
Yeah. Okay. So cool. So you went into this film knowing that Arnie was
Yes.
the good guy.
Yes, and that kind of diminished it as well. Beginning for me is I knew, because the movie's 30 years old. So there's a high chance of me finding out these things going into it. So I knew Arnie was going to be good, and I knew he was going to sacrifice himself at the end, but not in the way that he did sacrifice himself. I thought it was going to be completely different. But yeah, I get that the movie was setting up that, Arnie's back, the T-100. He's probably the one that has been sent to kill the John Connor. Yeah. And the movie does good on setting that expectations up until, we get introduced to the T-100 and the T-1000 when they find him. I also didn't mention in my review because I was tired after watching it. The whole bullet holes on the T-1000 just looked funny to me. It just did not look good. But yeah, I get what they were trying to do, and I'm sure it was very successful doing it that way for those who watched it back in 1991. But knowing what I knew going into it, I wasn't paying too much attention when that stuff happened, because I knew he was going to be a good guy. And then again, at the end of the movie, his self-sacrifice, I thought it was because he was going to grab the T-1000 and both throw themselves into the fire thing. I didn't know it was himself just going to self-sacrifice because, and it's a good idea, good reason, as long as I'm here, Skynet is still a possibility. And so him sacrificing himself was the smart decision. And I did say at the end of my review, this is where the franchise should have ended. Have the brighter tomorrow that it's trying to set up, have no real way Skynet could come about. The T-1000 and the T-100, both versions of them, are now destroyed. So there's theoretically no possible way that Skynet could come about. And this is where the franchise should have ended. It should not have gotten a third and however many other sequels.
Okay, we'll come on to that. But so I've got issue with this film, Terminator 2, because I don't think they did do a good job in 1991 of setting it up that Arnie was the bad guy. And this is where a lot of my problems lie with this movie. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It's not. It's a great movie. I don't think it's as good as Terminator 1. And but I think that there's a better version of it that could have been done. And I'll play it out to you now, right? And people may have heard it before, because I've done videos on it. Okay, so let's pretend that you've gone into this movie with no knowledge of it whatsoever, right? Now, this is the film that you're watching. This is my version of the film that I give you now. So things proceed as they do. Arnie comes through the time portal thing. He goes into that bar. I want your clothes, your boots, and your bike, right? And then instead of just hurting people, he kills them.
Yeah.
He openly kills them, much akin to how he does at the beginning of the first Terminator movie, right? Yeah. Film carries on. Robert Patrick comes through. Fine. Now you see Robert Patrick attack a police officer. Again, fine. You don't see him kill that police officer, which we don't see. For all we know, he's knocked him out. He's just made him.
That's what I thought.
And stolen his stuff, thus setting up this is your good guy, this is your bad guy scenario. Although the film's already dropped the ball on this by giving you Arnie going into this bar and just hurting people, not killing them, right?
Yeah.
That's my issue there. right? Not only that, when he steps out, you've got the Bad to the Bone music playing.
Mm-hmm.
That's played for humour. That's played for a laugh. Shouldn't have been done, right? As cool as that scene seems to be, shouldn't have been done. Should have stayed him kill the people and sort of monotone. No, nothing for a laugh or a giggle there, right? Obviously, we then come to the scene. Well, yeah, so everything's progressing fine now. If it was the way I said it was, we come to the scene in the corridor, right? Which is the scene where they're both facing off of each other, and John Connor doesn't know which way to go. You, as a viewer, first time watching, that's the Terminator. That's the human.
Mm-hmm.
And it isn't until the Terminator says "get down" that you're hit with that realization that there's a switch going on here. But you've seen this Terminator violently kill people beforehand, right? Because then when John Connor's now in the car park with the Terminator and those two people come over that John Connor's sort of mouthed off to, and they start threatening John Connor and that. Oh no, John Connor's screaming for help. They come over, then he starts being cocky to them, right? At which point the Terminator is now going to kill one of them by shooting them. And John Connor pushes the arm away, right? Now that's fine. If in context of the film, at the beginning of the film, Arnie has killed those people. But Arnie hasn't killed those people at the beginning of the film. He's just hurt them. Right? And it's at this point in the film where John Connor says, "You can't kill anyone, no more killing." Fine at that point. But before that, in the lead up to that, Arnie should have been doing exactly what he'd done in the first film, acting the way he acts, with one change to his programming being that of protecting John Connor. Don't worry about the people around John Connor. You protect John Connor at all costs. So if people get in your way, you've killed them as a Terminator. So it isn't until John Connor says no more killing does he say, okay, no more killing. And that there is a massive flaw to me in this movie, because it doesn't work for me. Then I'm always saying it doesn't work. These scenes don't work in conjunction with one another. Arnie shouldn't have been, his programming is look after John Connor, because he's proved at that point that he will kill people because he's pulled the gun and he's about to shoot him. And that bullet would have gone through the geezer if his arm hadn't been pushed away. Yeah. Also, I think the middle of the film really does dip in its, in the T-1000, you've got all the stuff in the desert. I think it sort of slows down massively.
Yeah, I kind of agree. That's where Act 1 ends, and Act 2 is when Sarah goes off to your man's house. That's to me where Act 2 begins.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just one of those, I'm not saying it's a bad film. I'm just saying that for me, and the reason
could have been handled better.
Yeah, and I understand the reason why they didn't do that at the beginning of the film. It's because they wanted the 15 rating and not the 18 rating.
Yeah.
The minute you have him do that, you've now upped the rating of the film to
an 18.
You see, we're not going to make.
I remember on Letterboxd, someone made mention of something, and I'm going to see if I can find it in one of their reviews, because I tend to have a quick glance of this. Yeah, here it is. And this person said there's a lot of PG-13 movies which feel R, but this is an R movie that is spiritually a PG-13.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. It's a shame for me, really. So for me, Terminator 1 stands as the better film. Terminator 3, I've got no issue with. I've got issue with elements of it, but fundamentally, it's a fun film. All the money's up there on the screen. It's big looking. It's fast paced. It's obviously it's nowhere near in the ballpark of Terminator 1 or 2, but I think it's a fun movie. It's not a boring movie. It's got some really good elements to it and a very brave ending. So I'd recommend watching 3. I think you should actually. I don't see. I know you're just saying that the franchise should end here, and I get that. But without knowledge of what else came, can you really say that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's just the way they set it up. The ending of this movie, you know, throwing out the original T-100's arm and what's left of his chip, and then having the T-100 self-sacrifice himself. To me, that sounded like a finality to the franchise in of itself. You know, now that we've taken out these elements and there is no more T-100 or T-1000, but that future of the 2029 should alter to be a more happy one, that there is no apocalypse, there is no robots versus humans.
But there's always other robots. And this is what the TV series Sarah Connor Chronicles done really well. Because the TV series Sarah Connor Chronicles is a good continuation from Terminator 2.
Okay.
While acknowledging Terminator 3 and explaining why Terminator 3 doesn't happen in this timeline and things like this. It's I'd say Terminator 3 is worth a watch. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on it, considering it's more of a popcorn movie.
I'll definitely keep an eye out for it. I'll see if my local CEX has it.
Let's see let's jump into the comments and see what folks are saying. Where are we? Personally, I love CGI bull crap, but honestly, each their own, I reckon. Playing Down Under. I think CGI is overdone now.
Like the early 2000s was its peak, where you could tell that it was CG, but it was blended into its surroundings, where it looked like it was in its surroundings. Unlike the CG of today, where these studios have put these companies under so much time constraint that they're cutting corners in order to meet these unrealistic deadlines, and thus having it look like shit.
That's true. Jay says, when it was new, didn't everyone know Arnie was good in T2? Yeah, they did, but the story structure is meant to be structured in such a way that you don't, but you do, because he doesn't do what he should be doing, which is my...
Oh, that's interesting. I just looked at my local CEX has 2 different versions of Terminator 3, a single disc and a 2-disc, but it also has season 1 of the Sarah Connor Chronicles for a $5. So I'll definitely pick those up next time I'm in town.
It's a decent series. At the time these movies came out, generally it was just great to see a good sci-fi action movie, and it wasn't thought about in depth, I don't think. Really interesting to hear new perspectives on it. It was good. It was good. And I'm not, I don't want to sound like I'm slating on Terminator 2, because it is a great film. Only I think that it could have been better. That's all. And I think that's arrogant, and I know that's a very arrogant thing to say, because it's James Cameron. I couldn't do what James Cameron does. But
I mean, James Cameron does what James Cameron can do. That old South Park song that they gave him, and their piss take on him.
All right.
Oh yeah, no, they don't have piss take on him, and it's very funny because it's him going down in these submarines, and it became more popular during that Titanic's submarine thing happened. Because people are like, "Oh, James Cameron, are you gonna make a movie or a documentary about this?" And James Cameron was like, "The hell I am."
Yeah, no. But anyway, like I was saying, I wouldn't, I couldn't do what James Cameron does, but I do think that there's room for improvement in Terminator 2.
Yeah.
In its structuring, and I understand the reason why it's structured the way it is and the decisions they made. Because number one, like I said, it would affect the box office because you'd have to rate it higher. And number two, it would make it harder to have the emotional impact of the Terminator sacrificing himself at the end when you've seen him kill people at the beginning. But if you do make those people at the beginning scumbaggy people that you can't feel any pity for, you can get away with it. And that's what the film needed. More akin to the guys that, okay, this is it. The geezers at the beginning of Terminator 1 came across as scumbaggy people that you didn't care about getting killed.
Yeah.
Right? Because they had a knife. They threatened him with a knife. They've started on him because it's night time and they're out drinking.
Yeah.
In this one, he goes into a bar where people are having fun. Okay, they're bikers. But if you transpose that, so they're more akin to like the people in the first film, even if it ain't in the bar, even if it's outside of the bar and they're scumbaggy people and he kills them, that'll have no impact on your emotional journey with him and his growth as a character through the story until you get to that end thing. But it was about that, which is easily written away, and about making money. That was the bigger flaw. That's where that landed. But yeah, Richard says morning. Hi Richard, how are you keeping? Good evening. Sorry, how rude of me. Good evening, Plan Down Under. How are you keeping? All well, I hope. Bad to the Bone is the ultimate cheese rock song. Here's a very cheesy song.
Yeah, it is a very cheesy rock song.
Richard said he is still recovering from watching the Meg 2. God, it was awful.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of the Meg films, but I remember seeing that as it was just the day before it came out, that on Rotten Tomatoes, I think it got like 16% critic rating. So I don't know what the audience is for it. I'd say it'd be around the same, if not lower. Yeah, for Meg 2.
Oh no, when I looked, it was around the 70 mark.
Really?
The audience score was around 70. I know the critic score was very low in the 10s.
Yeah. It's now 29% for the critics and 74% for the audience. Yeah,
see, okay. I won't spoil the film for anyone watching. Like I said earlier in this chat, it's going to be one of those films that I love to hate, in that I could probably watch it and have fun with it. However, I'm going to be slagging it off all the way through because there's no tension in the film whatsoever. Tension's just out the window. Okay, you've seen the trailers. I'm not going to spoil anything outside the trailers. You've got 3 Megs, right? It doesn't matter if you had 3 Megs or 1 Meg. It makes no difference to the film whatsoever. It ain't like it's triple the trouble or anything like that. It's just a number. Nothing more. It's just a number. That's all it is. One of the biggest gripes I've got with the film is the writing of the characters in this film. It's like I'm watching completely different characters to the first film. Yeah. You got a number of characters that come back, 4 or 5 characters that come back. And I feel that Jason Statham's character is written completely differently. The black fella who was always screaming and couldn't swim in the first one, he's written completely differently. Everyone is capable. Everyone has action scenes and they're all capable of action. And it just become very stupid. And then you've got this other story about where you've got bad people. So there are fights between people in it. Jason Statham and other people fighting, much akin to an action film. It's just, I've read the book. I've read a number of the Meg books. And it's been a while ago since it was, when I read Meg 2, The Trench, it was before COVID. It was a good few years ago. It's not like the book. It's only a fraction of it is taken from the book. The book does introduce other creatures that are living down in the trench, prehistoric style creatures, but they're more akin to, I don't know what sort of dinosaur is. How you picture the Loch Ness Monster, which is a big body with fins, long neck, but but the head of it is more akin to a crocodile sort of head. They're the creatures that are in the book, that sort of a creature. So they're formidable against the Meg. There's a formidability between them and the Meg. However, this film doesn't do that, and it does these little dog-size, four-legged creatures that are introduced at the beginning of the film. In the scene set in the past, and I'm not spoiling anything, you've seen it in the trailer, and then in modern day they're living down at the bottom of this trench in water, but they've not adapted that they've still got legs, so they can still run on land, which just logically that part of it makes no sense.
That really makes no sense.
And they're exactly the same as they were then. And again, it's just, you didn't need all this stuff in the film. There's so much thrown at you in this movie that wasn't needed. It's not a good film at all. It's in fact, it isn't. I mean, God, it was awful from Richard there is a fantastically perfect comment for the film. That being said, it wasn't not a fun film. I had fun with it, but I knew what I was watching was rubbish and was just badly written. And the biggest crime for this film is writing the characters as completely different characters than what they are in the first film.
Yeah,
I didn't. Yeah, and also by a certain point in the film, you come to realise that no one's at any harm. No one's. I ain't got to worry about any of these individuals. They're just all going to be fine. Yeah. Richard says T2 is overrated.
I do agree, but I still enjoyed it.
Don says, I don't watch Terminator 2 anymore. I only watched the first. There was no need for T2. Wow. Richard says the same. Agreed. Playing Downer says Terminator 2 was only big because of the groundbreaking special effects, which was the
liquid T1000.
Yeah, morphing technology that you would have seen later on utilised in Star Trek Deep Space Nine for Odo.
Yes, that's what that reminded me of.
Yes. Now, the first film to utilise morphing technology, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, is The Abyss. The Abyss was a experiment. They experimented with it in The Abyss, and that's where Terminator 2, the liquid metal robot for Terminator 2 was born. Because in The Abyss, they do it with water. There's water tentacles where these aliens that can. You've not seen The Abyss, have you? No,
I haven't.
All right. Well, there's these aliens that have the ability to control water. So they send a water tentacle into this underground drilling mining station, and it works its way through the corridors, and it's liquid. It's liquid. Yeah, it's liquid. And it forms the face. When it sees the girl, it forms the face of her on the end of it. So you can see where Terminator 2 came from. Terminator 2's got some fantastic action set pieces in it, though. I can't. It certainly does. But yeah. So Jay says Terminator 2 is fun for what it is, but when it came out, so disappointing, it made Terminator a good guy. So I had no issue with that.
I didn't either.
I had no issue with that. I had issue, like I said, with how they got to that in the film, in the context of the film. My perfect film would have still been 18 rated. The Terminator 2 is as formidable and menacing as what he is in that first film, but protecting John Connor at the same time. There you go. Playing down and said he liked the humour in Terminator 3. That humour did start in Terminator 2.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily laugh a lot in T2, but I'll definitely check out T3. There's as I said, there are two versions of it, one disc and two discs, for like a euro in my local CEX, and I'll probably pick up the Sarah Connor Chronicles, because that does sound interesting.
It's
But
worth.
even in my Terminator 1 review, I said that I would love a series that's just based in the post-apocalyptic 2029, just to
Yeah,
see their day-to-day life
yeah, they never gave
and
it
all
to.
of that.
I know Terminator Salvation is set in the future during the
Mm.
war, but it's the earlier days of the war, so it isn't
Yeah.
quite like, it's not what you see. It's more of a desert landscape.
Yeah.
But yeah. So some of I don't know. I don't know about the humour. I don't like some of the humour. But they did start in Terminator 2. Richard says he enjoys T3 more than T2. T3 looks great. It looks fantastic. There's this chase scene with a big one of them big lorries that has the crane on the back and a fire
Oh
truck
yeah.
and this sort of thing. It looks brilliant. And Arnie's hanging on the crane off of the crane swung out and he's hanging on the hook bit of it, and it's crashing through buildings while he's holding on to it. It looks fantastic. It looks phenomenal. It really does. And I do think that the special effects at the end of that film, when Arnie's part robot and part Terminator, part human looking, it's not done like in Terminator 2, because obviously you didn't really have CGI in the days of Terminator 2.
Yeah.
It was new technology, hence why it was only really used on the T1000. But when you've got him half face and you can actually see through the holes and see out the back, and when his arms, and half his body is gone, and his leg, he's got one leg that's robotic and one leg human. It looks fantastic. It really does. It's not a bad film. It's fun. It's fast paced, and it gets a lot of hate. Jay says T1 and done. Agreed. Jay's enjoying the honest opinions here. That's what it's all about. I will give my opinion on a film. The thing is, what I won't do, Jay, is I won't say a film is rubbish or boring without having any backup to it. I will always give a reasoning for my opinion on something, and that's and that's what I love about film, is that we do have different opinions, and it's about coming together and sharing those opinions. Well, in a respectful manner, really.
Yeah, and that's why I'm redoing my review for Empire Strikes Back, because it was a 200 subscriber special that was really, really rushed. Like, I should have taken my time to explain myself better, and that's what I hope I've done with my re-review of it. That is dropping on Wednesday.
Yeah. I mean, you're it was rushed. I will admit that.
I've even admitted that's why I'm redoing it, is because it was rushed. I even, when I rewatched it before doing my current review for it, I was like, oh yeah, this is really, really bad. So yeah.
I mean, I've got nothing against you that you don't like The Empire Strikes Back or anything. It's it's all personal opinion. And unfortunately, you do get people who take it as a personal insult.
Oh yeah.
Some people who, if they love something and someone comes along and says, well, actually, I don't like that, they take it as a personal insult and see it as fighting talk, essentially. So, but I like having proper conversations on why maybe you like something and I don't, or I don't like something and you do, because it's interesting. It is interesting. And so keep it going, Michael. Just oh, look who's here. Has to be one come and spoil proceedings.
I wouldn't say that. I like seeing Gareth show up here. He's got to support the king of the Star Trek quiz.
Hold on a minute. That's only because I'm not geeky and nerdy like you. With all your nerdy knowledge on Starship class vessels and whatever it is.
Or it's just because you're losing that memory of yours, old timer.
No, it's just I'm not as geeky as I used to be. Life's more other stuff goes on in life that like I said, Michael, I've forgotten more than what you'll ever know. So it really doesn't matter. But no, I do remember. I mean, I don't know. I remember being at a Babylon 5 convention back in the years of Babylon 5. This would have been around 97 or 98, right?
Yeah.
And Star Trek Voyager was quite big then.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a queuing to meet the cast of Babylon 5 and get all my signatures. And there were these two people behind me and my mate, and they were talking really in-depth technical stuff about the Starship Voyager, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just stood there laughing. I was at myself at them. I was laughing to myself at them because I was listening to their conversation, and I don't know if they were going on about how the toilets work or all this sort of thing. And but this is you. This is the stuff that you would probably have a fantastic conversation about, and I don't really care how the toilets work on board a Federation starship.
You know what's funny actually that you bring up toilets, because it's only sit in Strange New Worlds, and hold on, let me actually go close over this window.
It's getting cold or raining.
Yes, it's actually only in Voyager that we really kind of seen the toilets in the bathrooms on the starship, because in TOS we never see that. In TNG, to my knowledge, we don't. We definitely don't in DS9. So I think it was really Voyager that was the first time we've seen bathrooms on a starship. Because I remember my mother telling me that that was one of kind of like a running joke in the fandom was, well, where's the toilets? Where did they go to the bathroom? Because they're never seen.
Yep. Yeah, it's I don't know, but all that side, I'll leave that technical mumbo jumbo to you. I'll just watch the episode and share my thoughts on them rather than. So you was bound to win that, although I'm still shocked that no one knew who wrote City on the Edge of Forever.
See, I knew the name because I heard the story. I know the story behind that, but the name just slipped my mind.
I only know Harlan Ellison because I've known him as writing comic books as well. So that's how I connect the two. So Richard said he struggles to have any fun with the Meg 2. Already seen the best bits in the trailer. It's a shame. Such a shame. There's actually like six novels.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you see it listed on, like when you go and see it listed, there's 7 films, 7 novels, but one of them is Origins, which is a short, and that is included in the book of The Trench. So I have, I've read that as well. There's a new book come out this year for it as well. I can't remember the title for it. I haven't read all the books, but I'll be interested to see how. I'll keep my eye on the Meg 2 and its performance for money, how it does, because I'll be interested to see if they commission a third. They've really got to do something different though. Sexy Monkey, hello.
Hello,
Sasha. Hope you're well, mate. I really like T2. I think it holds up. The scene with the stepmom on the phone and a knife hand through the milk carton. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, no, that was good. There are some great bits in Terminator 2, so don't. My opinion of it, don't take it as me slagging the film off. It's not. It's just I think that there's elements that could be better. That's all.
Yeah. Barbie has just passed $1 billion in the box office.
Come on, Barbie, let's go party. Hi.
I remember when that was played on the radio non-stop as a kid.
Yes. There we go. The Abyss is a classic. It says Playing Down Under. It certainly
It's
is.
definitely one that I need. It's on the backlog. I'll get to it eventually.
If you do get it, do watch the extended version of the film.
Yeah.
You won't find it on Blu-ray.
Yeah, well, you see, that's what I do now. Is like unless I find the Blu-ray cheap, I usually, for new movies that I haven't seen to add into the collection, I'll usually get DVDs, and that way I'll watch it, determine whether or not I want to keep it and upgrade it, or get rid of it, essentially trade it back in, and that's what I'll do usually.
Yeah, no, it's you're only finding it on DVD anyway, because like I said, no, it never got a Blu-ray release.
Yeah.
Much to my dismay. I love The Abyss. I do remember the movie comic book adaptation by Dark Horse as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've got that in my collection or not. The water effects and some shark CGI in Meg 2 were quite well done, though, which is a very small redeem. It was. I liked the. I did like some of the effects. They did look pretty damn good. I liked the look of the shark that had been the bigger shark, where it sustained injuries to it down in the trench and that sort of a thing. Obviously by the super duper large octopus. Sexy Monkey, Sasha says the humour felt forced to his mind. Didn't feel that. It does feel forced in Terminator, I will agree. And like I said, people knock Terminator 3 for this, but it was there in Terminator 2 as well. The one element of Terminator 2 that winds me up is John Connor boy. I can't remember the guy's name now.
The actor who plays him.
Yeah, my mind's drawn a blank.
Yeah, I thought he was okay. It was, I tried not to
Edward Furlong.
fault. Yeah, I try not to fault child actors a lot of the times. But if they're really, really bad, I will make mention of it. Like most of the kid actors in Star Trek, the original series were really, really bad. But I didn't like him, but not to the point where I would make it a point to say, oh, he's a bad child actor. He's working with what he's got, and he did okay.
Have you seen Star Trek Renegades?
I've heard of it.
Okay, because he's in that.
Oh, okay.
He's one of the cast of that. Obviously,
Yeah.
Walker Koenig is in that as well. And did you know that he was? I don't know if he still is. Probably not. Did you know that he was in a relationship with Jolene Blaylock?
Who's that?
Oh, come on. Are you a Star Trek fan or what? Jolene Blaylock.
I have a Star Trek.
Sorry? Come on.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Okay. The Vulcan in T'Pol.
T'Pol?
Enterprise.
You mean Enterprise is T'Pol? Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes, he was. Edward Furlong.
Interesting.
An item at one point. There you go. You ain't that knowledgeable about Star Trek, are you, lad?
Just not with the actors' names, usually.
Oh, dear. See, I think
here's a quick look at the USS Voyager A that's going to be in Prodigy Season 2.
I honestly can't see anything. Can you send me a link?
Yeah, I'll download the images because there's not much.
Where can I find
it?
Because it just looks like an area with a load of bright lights.
I'm downloading the images and I'll send them to you on Instagram because it's a nice looking ship. still has the arrowhead design like her predecessor does. The underbelly, the secondary hull, looks slightly different, but then the nacelles at the Bassard collectors looks like they're pulled from the Sovereign class.
Okay. Oh wait, yeah, I've got your photos. Let me have a quick look. No wonder I couldn't see from. It's very dark.
Yeah. Well, they are in space.
Yeah, but the ship's very dark in itself. It's grey, very dark grey looking, not white. Okay, all right.
And Robert Picardo, EMH doctor, makes mention that, at this point in time, this is pre-attack on Mars that we heard about in season 1 of Picard.
Okay, all right.
So that's currently happening as we speak, the Romulan rescue mission of trying to relocate a bunch of the Romulans before the supernova happens. So this is really, really, really early into the timeline, before season 1 of Picard.
Yeah, no, that's yeah. Hopefully we'll see it. Hopefully it'll
Hopefully,
get home.
yeah. Hopefully it'll get it home.
Oh yeah, that's a continuation of the humour in Terminator.
Yeah.
Stevie Dan, how you keeping? Hope you're well. Stevie Dan says, good afternoon. I'm going on Tuesday to see the Meg 2. I knew there'd be bad reviews. People slagged off the first one. Yeah, I enjoyed the first one. I think it's lacking something, though. There's something I've never been able to put my finger on it. It's lacking something. I know people say that they want, that there's not enough blood in it, but then I'm thinking, this shark is as big as it is. There doesn't need to be blood when it eats people.
Yeah.
Because it just swallows them. I mean, there is a bit in Meg 2 that I really liked, and not to spoil it. There's a scene where it's filmed from the camera's looking out of the shark's mouth. So it's like the camera's inside the shark, and you see it just sort of enveloping people in the ocean. It comes down. It's just the mouth, and people are there. They've just been sort of sucked in and still alive inside it. I like that, because why would there be blood?
Yeah.
Sexy Monkey said, I think 27 film reviews. He done 27 film reviews, but stopped because he felt that why would anyone want to hear his opinion on a film? I get that. I mean, film reviews for me can go anywhere from 50 views to, okay, I think for me, Meg 2 got something close to 600 views at the moment, somewhere in that region. I think, what is it? Late Star Trek episode got close to 1.3k views.
Like, the views are definitely all over the place for me when it comes to reviews. Like, I reckon my comfort zone for a review is usually between 20 and 30 views, usually. But that's because I split my reviews up into movies I've already seen, but haven't seen them in a while. I feel like I want to give them a review and a rewatch, so I may as well do a review from it. And then, as since the start of this year, I've been doing the Tales from my backlog, where I'm finally getting around to movies that I've been haven't seen before that I need to, real good popular films, and they average around, again, mainly just the 20 view mark, 20 to 24 to 28 views. Some might go up, or some might not do well, like my Groundhog Day review or my Man of Steel review. And then there was, my my Starship Troopers review that got 95 views. So it fluctuates, but see, when I started my channel, it was primarily doing movie reviews, and then because that's what I wanted the channel for, and it's blossomed into me doing so much more than that. I'm doing hunting videos where I film myself go out looking for stuff. I do cinevlogs now where I actually vlog myself going to see a new release and do a spoiler-free review for it. Those do decently well. Even though I've only done 4. And it's actually getting me to go out to the cinema more, because before then I barely went. And so far this year I've been 4 times, with probably another 3 or 4 more times to go before the end of this year. And I've loved every moment of it. I've loved every moment of doing this channel in the near 2 years that I've been doing it. And as I've always said, I met some amazing people doing it.
He means me.
Yes, mainly you. You are the offline to my friends. I'll always say you are the reason I am where I am today.
No, it's deserved for you, Michael. It's great getting to know you and having you on the channel, and I enjoy talking to you. It's fun. It's good, and it's great to see your channel grow. Anyway,
since being on this stream, I went from 328 to 332, which means and another 68 subscribers means I'm at 400, which means then I'll have to review Die Hard.
There we go. He's trying to get in there to get more. So if you haven't subbed to Michael, sub to him, because he'll review Die Hard when he gets to 400. Now, I believe that when
I already have the DVD. I already bought the DVD. I went out specifically to buy the DVD. So I've done my part almost. As soon as I hit 400, I will watch the movie and do a review for it.
There we go. You've heard it here again. So am I right in saying that when you hit 200 subscribers, it was here on the channel?
Yes.
While you was on live?
I was on live with you and Matt the day after my birthday.
And what about the 300 mark? Where did that happen?
That happened a couple of weeks ago, just out of the blue. Because I was at 390 for the 290 for a week or two, and then I know Danny over at Physical Media Life shared out my channel on his community tab. That got me an extra 4. And then I forget, it was a Monday, and I posted a video, and then out of nowhere, it just immediately jumped up to 300.
Cool. So 400 coming. But I was saying about me, so reviews for me are hit and miss. I reviewed that film the other day, the
Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry, which is actually something I decided I'm going to post a review of myself next month. It's actually replacing a different movie that I keep putting off.
Because you went and watched it, didn't you? After
I watched your review first, and I was like, oh, I like these actors. Let me give it a shot. And I watched it, and I really enjoyed it, because to me, it felt familiar to me. It felt like other movies prior that I really, really loved. And it was really, really well done. And it's just, as you said, it's a shame that it's going to fly under the radar for a lot of people.
It is. And again, my review, I knew that when I was going to review that, I knew that it wouldn't get many a view. I knew it wouldn't get many a view, and it didn't bother me. I think it's got about 65 views, maybe, if lucky. But I've done the review because of it. Michael went and watched the film, so he's been introduced to it. My eldest son, actually watched the review. And now my children don't watch everything I do because the amount that I knock out. But my eldest son actually watched the review and said to me, "Oh, I've read the book." He's actually read the book that it's based on. So I keep meaning to ask him, "Have you still got the book?" Because I would like to now read the book. So it's hit and miss. But I do the channel. I'm not doing it for other people. If that makes sense. I'm not really doing what I do for other people. I do it for myself because I enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
I enjoy having the interactions that I do with people. I enjoy, like now talking to Michael and that. So I don't actually sit down and do it for anyone but me, if that makes sense. Because I've got no one else to talk to this stuff about around here.
Yeah.
My wife don't want to hear it. And originally my channel was set up primarily for my children because I was going through a bit of a crisis in the sense, and I was questioning, what am I leaving my children behind? And I'm not talking about monetarily. I'm talking about me, parts of myself. And I thought, if I'd done a YouTube channel and I was to walk out there and there's videos of me, I get hit by a bus tomorrow morning, kids can see me and sort of, do you know what I mean? I'm there.
Yeah.
It was that sort of a thing that sort of drove me to it, made that decision to start it. So, yeah, I think you got to do what's right for you, though. If doing reviews don't sit right with you and you think no one's going to... I mean, I always like listening to people's opinion on films.
As do I.
I won't watch every review, but I will watch, And I think, there's certain reviews. Like if I go and review an older film now, it probably ain't going to get many views. If I promote it as a first time watch, if it is a first time watch, then people are more interested in what you've got to say about it.
Yeah.
When it's a brand new film, obviously you do get certain hits. I mean, whenever I review a DC animated movie, I always get I can guarantee over 1,000, 1,500 views for those because they're not out. They're not usually out released for a week or two on physical media. I'm waiting for the Babylon 5 movie, the new Babylon 5 animated film. I keep checking. Is it there yet? Because it's out next Monday the 14th. And I'm expecting to have the review for that up before that. Anyway, so Luke asks, what's your thoughts on the Prey series? You're going to have to explain to me what you mean by that one, Luke, if you're still watching. Prey is in the Predator film? Or is there another Prey series that I'm missing? I don't know.
Nor do I.
Derek from Pure Hangout. How are you keeping, Derek?
Hello.
Hope you're well. Hope you're doing good over there. There people are jumping in saying Eddie Furlong, Edward Furlong. I did get there in the end before I saw it was just in the back.
At the tip of your tongue.
A bit further back than that. It's a bit deeper throated than that. I'm taking it into dark territory. Sexy Monkey says The Abyss was the second film I bought on VHS. First one was Masters of the Universe. Bit of a night and day there.
Yeah.
Between two films. I do have Masters of the Universe. Why we haven't got a nice, decent live action He-Man film, I don't know. I'd like to.
Like I didn't grow up with Masters of the Universe, but I am familiar with it, somewhat familiar with it. But yeah, the fact that there hasn't been a decent live action He-Man film, especially now when everything from the 80s is getting a reboot or a remake, why not the Masters of the Universe? It's one of the most popular toy franchises from that time.
Yeah. I agree. And there's such rich content within, like the characters. There's a lot of fabulous characters. Like
like
obviously
if I remember correctly, when the toys came out before the cartoon became about, they would include like mini comic books to explain the story of what was happening. Because they were released before that. So it's very interesting. It's like even now, like there's still a big collector's market for vintage He-Man and vintage Masters of the Universe stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm not akin to buying a He-Man figure. Newer ones. I like newer ones, I do. I don't open them up, but I've got a load boxed. Kept their boxes. But there's so many, like the characters, the villains, the rogues gallery in He-Man. It's very... you know, and like I said, I know they're made to sell toys, but
Yeah.
they're fantastic.
Mhm.
The one with the three eyes, with the thing on his head that spins and things like that.
Yeah.
They look great on screen in a big
Mm.
budget, big screen,
Yeah.
He-Man spectacular. Castle Grayskull. Imagine seeing that
Mhm.
on
Oh
screen.
yeah. Yeah.
Snake
A
Mountain.
new reimagining of Castle Grayskull. Yeah. Especially as well, you know, do a movie, bring out toys. Again, He-Man collectors will buy it if they like it. So that's really raking in the money then.
Yeah, no, that's right. So anyway, so Doctor Impossible. I never get whether you're serious with this or not, right? Because I have to have whether your tongue is just planted firmly in your cheek. So Smeg the Meg 2. I want to see Jaws the Revenge hit the cinemas again, especially the stunning banana inflatable boat sequence in slow-mo. Let me revel in Jaws' epicness. Jaws the Revenge in IMAX. Stuff Nolan. Let the new generation feel the cheese of the cane. Now, I actually watched Jaws 4 again a couple of months ago for Defending the Dud. And do you know what, right? It's not as bad as what people make out it actually is. Okay, it's
Yeah.
ludicrous that this shark would go on a revenge stick like what it does. There's a lot of ludicrous stuff in this film, but there's also, well, no, okay. Let me start by saying I've seen a lot of shark films that are far worse than Jaws 4,
Yeah.
right? But the banana boat sequence is pretty damn good. I'm not going to lie about that. Michael Caine is enjoyable in the movie, and I haven't seen Jaws 3 for a long time, so I would be curious to wonder whether I would rank Jaws 4 above Jaws 3 now. But I think it's just a joke among people that it's a bad film. That people, because there's this rhetoric that it is a bad film, and it is, because Jaws is my favourite film of all time. Jaws 4 probably wouldn't even rank in the top 100 films. My top 100 films, obviously, right? But is it as bad as what people make out that it actually is? And I don't think it is. Not now. Not now. Not watching it now, when I've seen a lot of disastrous shark movies. Really bad shark movies. Far worse. There we go. Oh, I forgot. Afternoon AJ and the politician from Southern Ireland, Michael.
You can't keep calling me that. You wanted me to explain why I don't like Wrath of Khan. You wanted me to explain why I love First Contact, and you wanted me to give Star Trek V another shot. I've done all those things, and yet you still call me a politician. How can I still be a politician when I've done what you've asked?
Well, there we go. Voiding the answers. Michael's getting the answers out. We'll see what comes of his Empire Strikes Back review on Wednesday, did you say?
Wednesday at noon.
We'll see what his proper thoughts are there. Richard says, talking of Michael Caine, I rewatched his 1980 pirate film, The Island, the other day, based on the book by Peter Benchley, of all people, an underappreciated movie. Obviously, Peter Benchley being the author who wrote Jaws. Yeah, I've not seen that film. Oops. Yes, Richard, somewhere in the film, The Island is a good film trying to get out. The one scene that stuck with me was the US Coast Guard attack scene, plus the attack on the old gits on the boat. I've not seen The Island, so I can't say. Plus, all the pirates are old British actors, by the Australian actress Angela Punch McGregor. The Island is just Jaws with pirates.
Sounds interesting.
Derek says, I'll let you handle this one, Michael. Think we'll ever get another Kelvin Timeline Trek film, or has too much time passed? I'd like to see them maybe try and close out that line of films with a final film rather than it just ending.
Oh boy. Star Trek 4 is still happening in a sense, but it is in development hell. There's been so many different writers and directors slated to work on this movie, and then they stopped. The original plan for Star Trek 4 was to bring back Chris Hemsworth as George Kirk, where it turns out that he last second put himself into a transporter buffer, and that's where he remained. And then then his Chris Pine's Kirk brings him out, and then that's how it's going to be. There's also rumors of it being like a time travel episode, a time travel movie going back to him. Then of course there's a massive pay dispute over that, and that's why Chris Hemsworth walked, because he was down to return. Then Quentin Tarantino was supposed to have a Star Trek movie of his own, where it's going to be based off of the season 2 episode with the Planet of the Gangsters, which would have been pretty cool to see. But then there was another person who was supposed to direct it, but then got offered to direct Blade or something like that. So they walked and went back to Marvel. And as it stands, it is in development hell. So I honestly think they should just leave it be. That is just the 3 movies, and that's it. And maybe just instead of trying to come back and do it with Kirk and Spock and all that, give us a Kelvin version of the Next Generation crew. Hell, or even just Captain Picard on the Stargazer. Let us see that in the Kelvin universe side of things. And that's my rant done, AJ. You can put your comic book down now.
Cool. There you heard it. I would like to see another one. Okay, so let me ask this question, right? Because I mean, obviously, I know some of that stuff. I know about the pay disputes. I know that they announced Star Trek 4 before. Even the cast didn't know nothing about it. It was just announced for the money men, the investors. I don't think old Quentin would have ever directed.
He was very interested in it because he is a big fan of the original series. Not anything after that, but of just the original series.
No, let me just answer that question. Jay says, what Superman book? That was issue 3 of Superman Lost. So how does he get trapped in a transporter?
Apparently, the plan was he had just enough time to put himself into a transporter beam just before the Kelvin rammed into the Narada.
Okay, where's that beam existing? Where's that beam exist?
Apparently, there's going to find parts of debris of the Kelvin, and amongst them would have been that transporter pattern of his dad.
Okay, all right. Sounds a bit sort of suspend disbelief kind of a scenario. Kind of akin to what seems like a few days after the Twin Towers attack, them finding the passport of one of the attackers, one of the it's not like that. Always, this ship has rammed into this other ship, total destruction. We found the bit that's kept him alive, bit sort of like as if kind of scenario. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Watch your space. But I would like them to finish it. It would be nice. I heard that Michael Bay is going to take on Thundercats soon. Say it ain't so.
This is first I've heard of it.
Thundercats.
Another one that I didn't grow up with. My mother grew up with the original Thundercats, and I came more aware of it when they rebooted it in the early 2010s on Cartoon Network or something like that.
No, true. Jaws. Sorry, I'm jumped over. Tarantino said he wanted to direct a Bond film also, and had the nerve to say that Casino Royale wouldn't exist if it wasn't for him. I can't stand his inflated ego.
Yeah, I've noticed as of late, Tarantino has a massive ego, and it's not just him. With the fact of the Marvel movies aren't to him classed as cinema, you know, which that I'm not much of a Marvel fan, as we all know, but to me they are. They were big cinema events. So to me, that's cinema. Like with how Barbie and Oppenheimer were these big cinema events, and I'm sure a bunch of others are as well, and will be. So
Absolutely.
yeah, to me, they were cinema. So yeah, Tarantino has a massive ego, in my opinion. It definitely seems to be going that way. The same with James Cameron. But he definitely seems to have developed a big ego as of late over his Avatar films.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, James Cameron for me has lost it, unfortunately, and I do think that if he went back and done a new Terminator, it wouldn't be what we want, shall we say?
Yeah.
Time has changed him, much akin to I'm a bit dubious about the return of Russell T Davies to Doctor Who, because a lot has happened from when he'd done Doctor Who before to Doctor Who now. He's coming back into it with a load of life experience between then and now. So
it's been 12 years.
Yeah, so that's not
it's been 12, 13 years.
Yeah, that you're you're going to get something akin to what you had before, and you see it with filmmakers and that they they're not the same person. People change, but we'll see. Dr. Impossible says Jaws has a voice. I forgot he roars. Jaws does roar in Jaws 4. Yeah, there are some silly decisions. Hilda is Bruce's female partner from the second film. Okay. I do agree with this. The Star Trek stuff with Chris Hemsworth does indeed did seem like an attempt to cash in on 4.
Yeah.
And Chris Hemsworth doesn't shine very bright outside the MCU. I agree with that as well.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair though, Star Trek '09 is what kind of gave Hemsworth his career in Hollywood.
Yeah.
He was still a very unknown actor when this came out. But yeah, it is kind of like a big cash grab. Like, oh, if we can get him back, then maybe we might see more money then.
Yeah. No, I do. Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, he's done them films Extraction. They were okay. But I don't think he's too great outside of the MCU. I'll be honest. But he was good in the opening of Star Trek. That was a very good opening scene. Luke said the Predator films. So yeah, we discussed the Predator films earlier on, Luke, because Michael recently done a review on Predator 2. Not an overly favourable review. He didn't like it too much. But for me, Predator 1 is a top 10 film of mine. In with Jaws, in with Die Hard. Yeah, I love it. I love the franchise. I read the Predator comics. I've got some on the floor down there actually, where I've just been sorting out loads of comics. Yeah, I like Predator. Michael still got to determine.
Yeah, I'm still new to the franchise. Like I've seen now just the first 2, but I do plan to watch the other 3 in the franchise, and as well give at least the first Alien versus Predator films a shot.
Yeah. Fair enough. So Luke says he can't wait for the new Saw 10 film. I don't mind the Saw films. I've got them.
I've never seen them, but I'm familiar with their premise. Definitely. Well, at least of the originals. I'm familiar with that premise.
What I wouldn't do is I wouldn't rush out to see it.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't be in a rush to see Saw 10. Tasha says actually it was Martin Scorsese who said that about Marvel.
Yeah, he did, but I've also seen interviews of Tarantino hopping on that as well, saying
Yeah,
that
Jay
they're
said
not
here, didn't
similar.
Tarantino say they were not film because they're no
Yeah,
longer shot on film? They are
yeah,
movies. That's like
mm,
tomato distinction, isn't it?
yeah.
Um, Bland Down Under says Bruce in Finding Nemo. I've never made that connection until
Same.
now. I've never,
Yeah.
I know the shark in Finding Nemo, the Great White, is called Bruce, but never
Yeah.
have I made the connection to Jaws until now. Because the shark in Jaws is called Bruce.
Yeah.
That was their name for it. Luke says, I've never seen any of the Saw films, but horror's not my thing at all, especially the gory types. Okay.
Yeah, I
Wait.
agree. Horror's not my real cup of tea, but that being said, I do plan to review a few horror
No.
films in
Sorry, that's
October.
Sasha. A sexy monkey
Yeah,
to Luke. Sorry. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry,
But
my boy.
I have October's video already planned out, and I'm not a horror guy, but I am going to be watching some horror films that I've never seen before. I will say the vast majority of reviews in October of movies anyway is going to be horror movies I haven't seen that I want to give a shot.
Okay, so
But that being said, I could watch it and switch it off and change my mind on that, so it's not fully set in stone.
so I think so. Doctor Impossible says you still didn't really give an explanation as to why you didn't like Star Trek 2. Even I was left empty with no idea why.
I did say that I thought it was just overrated. To me, it was built up over time. Because I didn't watch the Star Trek movies in order. I watched them all out of order when I could get my hands on them. And to me, Star Trek 2 was built up to be this best movie that everyone was hailing it as one of the best Star Trek movies ever made. That the even number treks were the greatest, the odd numbers were shit. And to me, just Star Trek 2 didn't live up to that hype, whereas others did, even surpassed what I've been told. Like, I love the motion picture, I love the Search for Spock, I love even Star Trek 5. I grew to really love after my most recent rewatch of it. So I don't have a Star Trek film that I like that I would say is the worst. I find enjoyment in all 13 of the Star Trek movies, but obviously they're all ranked accordingly
Yeah.
to my opinion, which I've done at the end of my Star Trek Beyond review.
So where did just a reminder, where does Star Trek 2 sit in that ranking?
I think either the fourth or the fifth position.
What, as in fourth or fifth best?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Can't argue with that. Yeah, I think it's a case of, I understand that. I understand films that people, that people talk up over time, and you're going in thinking, and then you've been knocked back down because it's not you don't get out of it what they get out of it. I get that totally.
Yeah.
Also, like you said, it's of an era of Trek older to you. It's not really the Trek you would have grown up with.
Yeah.
That would play a big part. Of course, it would.
Yeah. Like, I grew up on reruns of The Next Generation and Voyager, so that's where my love of Star Trek came about. And then, of course, that was in around the time that the first Kelvin movie came out. So I obviously rewatched that a hell of a lot, which is why I have a massive love for the Kelvin movies, is because it's what I grew up on. It was the Star Trek that was coming out when I was freshly introduced to Star Trek. And it's probably also why that I love Star Trek Discovery, where others might not, because to me, whilst yes, I watched most of TNG and all of Voyager at that point of when Discovery came out, it was still I still found enjoyment through it. But I definitely know my opinions have changed when I rewatched the first 3 seasons of Discovery before season 4 came out. And when I do get around to them again for my season-long reviews on my channel next year, I definitely have changed opinions on early Discovery. But I still love it, and I'm still going to be sad when Discovery ends.
Yeah, it's we have to have a discussion about that one. I think it's a really badly written. So Luke says, I like Saw over Hostel. That's just a very gory film. So that was in response to Sexy Monkey saying that horror's not his. Horror's not really my cup of tea, but I've actually got the Saw and the Hostel films. I don't mind. There's certain horrors I don't mind. I don't get off on the gore in them, but I think that some of the killings are very elaborate, very, what was the word I'm looking for? I don't know. What I'm looking for is, but they always seem to surprise me, the ideas that people come up with on how to kill people in these films.
Yeah.
Playing Down Under says, AJ, you just yawned and it made me yawn. I think Michael was talking at that point. Luke said, what's your thoughts on Predator 2? Because that's a good film. We've already done this one.
I didn't like it. Yeah, it's not, in my opinion, it's not a good movie.
Basically, Michael's got a review up that came up not long ago, a few days.
Beginning of this month, yeah.
Oh, was it Predator 2? Yeah, it's the beginning of the month. A few days ago.
Yeah.
So go check that out. And me, I don't mind Predator 2. It's all right. It's not Predator 1, but it's just a fun film, but a very dated film.
Yeah.
This current channel of mine was, until I deleted the old one, actually called I Ain't Got Time to Bleed. So you know I'm a fan of Predator, yes. What a quote that is. I mean, when anyone says to you, you're bleeding, that's your comeback, or you've cut yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, look, you've cut yourself, you're bleeding, you've got a paper cut, I ain't got time to bleed. Do you know what I mean? That's it. That's got to be on the end of your tongue for any scenario like that. You're going out, you go out on a ramble and you've scratched your legs up. Well, you scratch your legs, they're bleeding. I ain't got time to bleed. Just have that on the tip of your tongue. I do.
Yeah.
You just sound cool when you say it. Don says Chris Hemsworth is supposed to be in a Hulk Hogan biopic as the Hulkster. That should be fun, even though I can't stand Hogan. I would give it a look when it comes on TV. I'd probably give that one a miss.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have any interest in it, to be honest.
Yeah. But I wonder if they are doing that, if they're going to cover the many Hulk Hogan sex tapes that he has.
I don't know. If they need any for reference, Michael, could they come to you to get them?
Probably.
I didn't even know there was Hulk Hogan's sex tapes.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing some documentary about Hulk Hogan, and it was made mention of that he has I think he has a few sex tapes.
What,
or
like
a few
homemade?
hundred. Homemade sex tapes, yeah, with him and his partner.
Oh, yeah, well, we've all done that.
Yeah.
We've all done that.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that with my ex-wife. I ain't got them anymore though.
Yeah.
But if you want to see them on the internet, if you go to www.ajsextape.com, you got paid to watch them.
The precursor to AJ's OnlyFans.
I even impress myself at times. Sexy Monkey says, I changed this channel name because I felt obligated to keep the Sexy Monkey name. Yes, yeah, I do know why. Stephen just finished watching Destination Wedding. Don't think I've heard of that. It's got Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder in it. It was actually pretty funny. It's a decent film. Can't say I'm aware of that one.
It rings a bell. It definitely rings a bell.
Okay. Dr. Impossible says, The Empire Strikes Back. I know. Too long and the story doesn't make sense.
You'll just have to wait until Wednesday to find out.
Well, we will find out. Every director, bar Joseph Sargent for Jaws 4, called the sharks Bruce. So a multiple of Bruce's. Glorified. Glorified. Creative is a good. Yeah, creative is the word I was looking for. Yeah, I don't know why. So I got a bit of a headache today. So my mind ain't working. But yeah, creative. They're very creative deaths in things like Saw and Hostel. And yeah, and I think also because it's not the sort of horrors for me, because I'm not a big horror fan. And one of the reasons being is because it's usually number one, horror don't scare me anyway. So there's that. And also when you're playing around with it never lands the ending. Horrors never very rarely land the ending. Like I didn't mind the concept of Jeepers Creepers. I didn't mind the concept of Jeepers Creepers until I saw the creature. And it looked like a reject from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And then when I'm watching, you know, this creature comes, I think it's like, okay, get me if anyone's watching and they've seen the Jeepers Creepers films, correct me if I'm wrong, but this creature, he comes and hunts for 30 days every 30 years or something like that, or something silly.
That rings a bell.
Or is it 13 years? I don't know, right? So he comes to feed for a short period of time where he feeds on people. Then he sleeps for ages, for decades, and then comes back again. Okay, fair enough. He's got wings. He's driving a bloody van. So when did he get that license to drive that vehicle? Where did he learn to drive that vehicle? That's the story I want to see. Did he go? Did he go off and get? You know? Did he think? Hold on a minute. I'm not going to feed this time round. I've got 30 days. I need to do an intensive driving course so that I can drive this van. Now I need someone who's going to keep the van going while I'm sleeping for however many decades. So I'm gonna hire these people to do that. So when I wake up in 30 years' time, the van's still there, ready for me to go. Because in the latest one, he's still driving around in the same bloody van. These horror films don't land the ending. They as soon as you get to the ending and the reveal of something, that's the minute where I go, oh my god, okay, I can't buy into this nonsense. So when it comes to films like Hostel, when it's real people on real people, and like the Hostels and that, it's the rich that are paying for these people to get abducted and then killed. They can kill them for fun. There's more of I suppose, a sort of realistic element to them that I can sort of tap into. That there's a potential that it could happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the Saws are very similar to that in ilk. Although when I do watch them, I do sort of think, you know, of the complexities of creating these elaborate traps and the cost of creating these elaborate traps, and where do you get the money for that? And I think that's one of the problems I had when I watched Escape Room, which is, you know, the concept's fine, that there's these escape rooms that people go into, they've got to try and escape, but the room's going to ultimately kill them. But in that film, you've got a big block of flat, or you've got a big building, each escape room leads into another escape room. One of them's like a nice, you know, it's icy and snowy with a nice floor and water underneath, and they crack and fall through. And I'm thinking, the logistics of setting something like this up is unrealistic. To get in this building, setting it up like this, just so you can kill some people for well, it's all money related, wasn't it? So I find myself signing out on a lot of horror films for those sort of reasons. But you give me, you know, but that, like, Saw does step across a certain line because the elaborate nature of the traps that they're setting, that he sets. And and it's like you just wouldn't get away with it. I think in Spiral, he's got someone hanging from like on the train tracks, underground tracks, and I'm thinking the logistics of getting this person down there, getting this thing set up for them to be hung from, for the train to come along, it just defies belief. Here we go. So Dr. Impossible says, Doctor Who is going to be just too diverse and inclusive for me. Russell's really hit the agenda hard. His employers obviously need to pump it out. What do you think, Michael?
I'm going to reserve my judgment until I see it, until I see what he has envisioned, because I believe it's only like 6 or 8 episodes now per season. But I get where Dr. Impossible is coming from. We're seeing a wide mix of different people, different walks of life come into the show now. You got the trans cross-dresser who's apparently playing a villain that might be a musical episode, judging by the costume that Jinx has been wearing. But again, like going into Jodie's run, I'm going to reserve my judgments until I see, the final product for what he has envisioned. Because I know season 14 has wrapped filming, and he is working on season 15. So I'll just wait to see what comes about, really.
Okay, so
but I swear to fucking God, if it's the Master again, I'm going to fucking kill people.
Well, you're not going to do that, are you? Come on.
No. But still, I'll be very pissed off if it is the Master again.
Okay,
because
so
it's just going for easy writing.
Yeah, I know. See, I'm a very cynical person, right? I know that Doctor Who was on decline, has been for a while. I know full well that Jodie Whittaker's run should really have ended the series.
Yes.
Right? I know full well that the only reason that David Tennant has been brought back for a series of specials and under Russell T Davies is to try and draw back viewership.
Yeah.
To try and pull people back on board before the black fella, I can't remember his name.
Shooty Gatwa.
Whatever it is. It's very cynical storytelling from my perspective. I'm looking forward to David Tennant returning. I know, but I know why he's returning.
Yeah.
Number one, first and foremost, it's to try and bring people back on board and rebuild the brand again. That's why they've done that. Ultimately,
it's working, because I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, David's coming back. I didn't know he was coming back. I guess I'll start watching Doctor Who again."
Yeah, it's that's what it's done. It's not done. It just happens to be that it's fell with an anniversary as well. That they're picking it up for that. That's obviously with an anniversary they would have done an anniversary special, but David Tennant coming back.
I still think they shouldn't have done a 60th special, because it's just 60. It's not as special as, say, the 50th or the 75th anniversary. It just, to me, it still feels weird that they're doing it, and it's even annoying me more and more that a lot of fans are complaining that there's not a lot being done for the 60th, expanded media wise, except for that doomsday bullshit spread across multiple different things, books, audios, comics, whatever. And then, of course, just the 60th in a few months. And people are annoyed that that's all they're really getting, outside of, as well, some big Finnish audios. And a lot of people are like saying, "Oh, it's going to be a multi-Doctor story, that we're going to see Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi come back for it." Matt Smith, I could definitely see him coming back, but not Capaldi, because he's been open and said he won't come back for a multi-doctor story because it feels it cheapens it. If he's coming back, it's for a solo thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I am looking forward to it, obviously, but at the same time, I think the 60th shouldn't have been marked as it was. I think we should have just gotten a year without any Doctor Who, and then come back fresh next year.
Fair enough. Sexy Monkey says, very great friend of mine, YouTuber, who goes by the name Kubrick Lover 1972, told me that he's related to Hulk Hogan somewhere down his family tree. Nice for him. Someone has to be.
Yeah.
Jeepers Creepers, every 23 years for 23 days. Exactly. Nonsense. Love that film. I like the second film too. I wasn't so excited on the third one. Still feels like an empty explanation, Michael, but there we go.
There's just no pleasing him. Yeah, there's just no pleasing him.
Sex tapes, Jesus AJ. Come on, we've all done it.
I've even done it with an ex, and it's been greatly deleted because no one needs to see. No one needs to see my 1-inch wonder now, do they?
There we go. Truth comes out. We're going back 27 years now. 28 years for me. A long time. A lifetime ago.
Yeah, you're going back 8 years for me.
You should pick up the camcorder.
Yeah.
Put your shoulder up. Stick the old VHS tape in.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that big. It was like a little camcorder.
Yeah.
I'm not getting into that. I might be joking anyway. I might be joking or I might be telling the truth. That's up to you to determine.
Yeah.
You learn lots on these streams. You do. Well, that's the end of the comments.
Yeah.
There's all the comments. So, shall we wrap this up, Michael?
Yeah.
We've been on air for 2 hours and 35 minutes. I need to go and tidy up. I don't know if you can see on the floor down there. I just comics strewn all over the floor where I was sorting them into their respective piles.
Yeah.
I got to get
if we don't hear hide nor hair of AJ, we know why.
Why is that? Because I'm reading.
Because your wife got to you for the mess you've left on the floor.
1 inch, lucky you. But no, it's been good having Michael on. I enjoy talking to Michael. So
thank you for having me on. Really appreciate it.
So what's okay? So for you, the rest of this week, anyone still watching, you've got Star Wars Trilogy review, original trilogy.
Yep, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Now, at some point down the future, are you going to continue with this review trilogy, or is that just this month?
I'm going to see how it goes this month. It depends on how well the Star Wars videos do, the Lord of the Rings videos, and the Men in Black videos do. And then if they do really, really well, maybe in the new year, I'll do another dedicated month to reviewing trilogy of movies, because there's the others that I could, look at, like the Planet of the Apes trilogy, because I've only ever seen the first one. Maybe do rewatch the Back to the Future movies. And the possibilities are endless for trilogy reviews. But it all depends on how well it does over this month. So there's just a spur of the moment idea that I had. I was like, if I was to do a whole month dedicated to trilogy reviews, what ones would I pick? I knew instantly the Lord of the Rings had to be in that, because it'll be a first time watch. And I said to myself, this year would be when I watched them. And then I was like, I kind of want to do a re-review of Empire. Let me just do a full review of the original trilogy, and then maybe as well I'll do the prequels and the sequels. And then the Men in Black trilogy came about because I wanted to rewatch the third one to see if my opinions have changed. And so then I was like, well, it's been a decade since I've seen the first two. Let me rewatch the first two as well.
Fair enough. Okay, cool. So,
Yeah.
me myself, I've got my thingy coming up, pickup video later today, and while I'm here, with anyone still watching, I've got a second channel called Brody's Life. Brody's Life, yes. So basically, I've got a new puppy coming. I'm so excited for my new puppy, but he's not coming until latter part of September, because when he comes away from his mother, when he's at that age. So at the moment, I'm just putting up some shorts because the puppy is it's a cockapoo, and it's been bred from my wife's daughter's dog. So we said that we would take one of the puppies, which we have. I've named him. I have named him now, like I said, Brody, after Chief Brody in Jaws. Seriously, but I've spelled it with an IE, not a Y. So you can go check out that channel. It's called Brody's Life, and it's going to be his. It's going to be him. I'm going to do a channel devoted to him and his life, so that I can record everything about him and what he does and gets up to, and that when that sad day comes that these very friends leave us, I'll have a lifetime of video to look back onto with him.
Yeah.
It's like documentation of his life, I suppose. First times exploring everything, when he first comes into the house, meeting the other dog that he will be meeting here. I haven't got a dog, but when my dad moves in soon, he's bringing his dog, all that sort of thing. So, yeah, go and check that out if you so wish. If not, don't worry. But that's it. That's my only plug. I'm going now. Michael, it's been great.
Been great as always.
And thank you for watching, everyone. Thanks for the comments. And Sexy Monkey, just quick. Oh, first of all, says Men in Black 2, Rosario Dawson with her short hair. Rosario Dawson is a very attractive woman. Yes, she is. Yeah. And I liked her in Clerks 2. I thought she looked great. I named one of our cats Oscar after the baby from Ghostbusters 2. But never told the family that. So I'm going to leave it there.
I named my cat after Levi from Attack on Titan.
Oh, there you go.
The anime. Yeah.
Cool. Anyway, I'm ending this now, so catch you on the next one. Take care.